Good morning, everyone. Right, what you can see is I'm starting to do a project here. I'm going to do like a 2-page book, that's all. I've got 2 of them. I did think about doing a 4-page book, but decided it was too bulky, so I'm just going to do a 2-page book. I've just got boxes of doilies and trims and cut-offs from doilies and tablecloths that I needed to do something with them. So I'm going to show you how I've just made that. It's just 2 pieces of linen and a piece of wadding, and it's quite thick wadding to make a good padded page. And what you do is you lay your first fabric down, then lay down the wadding, cut it to size. I do check that it's the same as the other page I've just shown you that's already completed. And I'm doing a voiceover because when I did film this, unfortunately for me, there was a lot of crackling and banging and whatever, and I can't find where the noise was coming from. So I decided to do a voiceover one on this one. I know it would have been annoying to you because when I played it back to edit it, it was annoying to me. Anyway, so I'm just measuring that now. Yep, that's perfect. I haven't chosen any particular doilies to use on this or anything. I've just got my box at the side of me, and as I took them out the box, I just tried something with them, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. I do know that at the end of this video, it actually cut out. I will be coming back to show you other pages as well, but you will get to see a majority of this 2-page booklet. What I'm doing now is just popping on the wadding, and then I put another piece of fabric over that, and like I say, it is quite a thick linen, more like a canvas linen. So I'm just gluing the sides, and I do both sides first, do it slightly away from the wadding, and then when you press down onto the material to join the two together, you know, you're pressing the wadding as well, and it stops any of those puckers and creases, like that. So do both sides the same. And as long as you're leaving the glue just slightly away from the wadding, I'm just straightening mine up there because it wasn't quite straight. Yeah, I just said something was rattling, but I couldn't find out what it was. Unfortunately, I have no idea. There's nothing moving on the table, so I don't know why I've got a rattling noise. Not unless I've got my little visitor with me. But it was annoying me so when I did the editing, so I had to go back and redo it. You see, I'm doing it about ½ inch away from the wadding, and that gives it a little bit of leeway for you to play around with the edging when it's cut. And lay it out flat. I think the wadding measures about 1 inch wide as well, you know, in thickness. Didn't quite have that flat. And if you press both material and the wadding down together, you get a nice edging. Now what I'm doing is I'm just marking out the middle of the page, just because I'm going to sew it. And I'm using a seam binding, a centimetre wide seam binding. I don't have to sew it, but it does help it when I want to close the page. I didn't want to cut the wadding in two and glue it down the middle. I don't like it like that. So sometimes I do like to stitch the whole thing together. So like I say, you get a nice long piece of ribbon. Don't knot the end. Leave about 6 inches once you've got the needle through the first lot, because then you can at least put a bow in it. You may want to cut it off, knot it and cut it off, but for me, I did the bow. Now, it can be tricky. It can be a little bit fiddly, but once it's done, it looks good. Although you could also cover it, but at least the middle and the book will fold. Just continue doing approximately ½ inch stitches, you know, a couple of centimetre wide stitches. By supporting it in your hand like that, it's not going to pucker anywhere else, as long as you've got it straight and you keep checking. just go straight up the middle where you've drawn the, and I used a pencil, that's all. Keep turning the fabric round to pull one way with one hand and pull the needle the opposite direction, and it will work. Try and keep your stitches loose-ish, not too tight. That's it, that's helping it. You only need to go one way as well. To get the bow, obviously, I rethread the needle, rethread the ribbon back through the stitches on one side to meet up with the other one, but I don't put it back through the fabrics. There's no need for that. So a small stitch at the bottom, and then we can take that back up, zigzagging through the stitches that are already there on the top. Just hook it under and pull it. I could have done my stitches a little bit smaller, but unfortunately I didn't, and hey ho, it still worked. You will go, you bugger. I was actually saying that. Right, I've just took it through the back, and then I've got to bring it back on the opposite side of that stitch in order to tie a bow with it. But I absolutely love doing these pages. Yeah, sewing in the middle is just another way of adding something different to a project. But you can use it as a guide when you're putting your fabrics in the middle, if that's what you want to do, if you choose to do that on the inside of the cover or the spine of the cover. So you do get it, you know, more or less straight. I just cut the ribbons. Now, if you've got hair straighteners, then of course you can use them to flatten the ribbon back to what it was originally. But it's a shabby book, so I'm not that fussed about it whatsoever. I do have straighteners. I chose not to use them at this point. And just tied a little bow at the top. Now, I could knot that and cut that off, but for now, I've just put a little bow in it. Now glue the ends. Exactly the same as you've done the sides, just in front of the wadding. Stretch out the material. A lot of people don't stretch it out, and therefore that's how they get tucks and that in it. So pull the material out, use your fingers, if you've got plenty of fingers to move about, and manipulate the material where it should go. Again, stretch the material out and it will all be flat. You won't get any tucks or puckers in your material whatsoever. Now do the opposite side. If you do it too close to the wadding, it won't glue. You'll just glue the wadding to the fabric and not the two fabrics together. So make sure you do it in front of the wadding, about 1 centimetre. And it does make a really good couple of pages to work on. Now, if you've never made a book before, I suggest you make one of these first. Now, you can do this as one single page or one single, I mean, that could be used as a big hanging canvas, you know, as a big plaque or wall hanging, whatever you want to call them. But if you've never done one, just try one of these. And the thing is, it's all about layers. Layer, layer, and layer. But as long as you can see every layer you've put on, I see lots of people, they layer and they layer and they layer and they layer, and you end up, they've hidden most of what they've layered in the first place. Now, Margaret, who is I think it's 7 Mrs. T, Margaret actually does a lot of layering in hers, but you can see everything she's used, and that's a good crafter. And she's an amazing crafter. So run along and have a look at her work as well. And she really is an amazing crafter. I mean, I've always done things like this, but I think Margaret's taken it to the next level, to be honest, of the type of book that I'm doing here. It's just, she does boots and shoes and things like that. And as you can see, I've got 2 pages now. I've cut mine, as you just saw just then. I cut it 1 inch away from the fabric, from the wadding. And that gives you enough to play with, you know, for putting trims on and whatever. So anyway, we're going to start with the front page. Although I've left that out flat, I'm going now to... oh, sorry, I was just putting a pen away. That's nothing to do with what I'm going to be doing. It was on the desk. I forgot to put it away the other day. Like I say, I choose a lot of doilies and trims, and now I'm going to show you how I start to cover my pages. Now these, if you've got doilies and you've got trims, just cut them. Don't think about it, just do it. There's a couple of videos I've done on how to cut a doily so it doesn't harm it, and you can get lots of things from cutting them up. So in the middle, that will be used as a doily itself for a flower or something, or a backing, and put a photograph in it. And all the trim I've cut off will be used as a trim for the bottom of the page. Like I said before, in the last video I was showing you how to cut a doily. Every single stitch, every single link is exactly what it is, a link. So it won't come undone when you cut the link. When you've got 2 pieces like that, like that flower's joined to the doily edge, it's just a link holding it together. So that's all I'm snipping. And that's a lovely kind of frilly edging. So what I'm going to do now is I just cut it into 2. I actually didn't need to cut it into 2. I should have just cut it into 1 and then gone across the whole of the front and the back page. But I didn't do it like that, but hey ho. We all make mistakes. Now you can see that it's too tight to go across the front cover. So I'm just cutting it down a little bit, which I won't waste the piece I cut off, but I'm cutting it down a little bit so that it fits better, because it'll be a little bit wider to fit across the front cover. And like I say, I should have left and just cut the whole circle once, not twice. Not cut it in half. But it doesn't matter. Keep all your bits you cut off, because you never know where you need a little frill, a little bit of trim. Don't ask me what happened with the light, no idea. Oh, it was sunny one minute and dark the next, so hey, it's the way it is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fold the page in half. That's it. Now we're starting on the front page. Now you see it's wider than I need, but what I do, tack it down with glue in the middle, just a little bit, and then use the beginning there to nip it. So when I say nip it, it's to pinch it together to make a gather. So you're actually making a frill from a frill. But so that each side matches, start it in the middle, because that way you'll get an even gather on it. Just keep nipping it. And it won't come undone. Once it's glued, it's glued. Unless you pull it undone, of course. There's a couple of incidents where I've had to undo something. And because I don't use a lot of glue, but enough to glue it down firm, it will come undone. You know, I can pick it off. So again, see what I mean? I should have just continued going around the spine instead of cutting it into 2 pieces. So I'm now putting the back piece on. And I'm doing that in the same way that I've just done the front. So for me, that's a lesson learnt. If you're going to put the same frill front and back, no need to cut it in 2, Fiona. Again, start in the middle. Now, only glue 1 inch at a time, because if you glue too much, the glue starts to dry, and then you get stuck with the fabric that's got gaps in it, and then you gather a bit, and then it's flat, and gathered a bit, and then it's flat. So I only do 1 inch at a time, and I can get 3 or 4 tucks out of that 1 inch. And you can see it fits perfect. And I can always glue the centre together, doesn't matter. But I don't bother. It's a shabby book. Or booklet. 2 pages, it's a booklet, isn't it? Fit perfect. There we go. And look how much that's given it a really good frill for the bottom section. You do get covered in glue. I'm just saying. I can't remember what I was saying actually there, so whatever. Play with my fingers. Now turning it back to the front. Oh, I was talking about layering. That's what I was saying about layering. And you need at least 2 or 3 different layers to do a nice frilly bottom. Now, that was the next one I picked up. I didn't mess about. I just thought, yep, hey, it's going on. Use it. Just glue the middles. Don't glue the edges down yet. You might need it to, but not always. Depends what you want it to look like. And they're only dobs of glue. It's what I call a dob of glue. Just reaching into the bucket for another couple of trims. Now, the film's coming up to an end, but I'm going to come back and show what I did do with this, and then I'll continue with another page. Because, unfortunately, like I say, it ran out. But here's a trim I found that I'd already cut up the doilies from it. Oh, no, that was one of the next things that I found. So I'm just going to put that down the centre spine. Now try not to, if you're adding anything onto the spine, try not to do anything that will touch the centre piece, the centre ribbon. Do it either side. So I just slightly lift the glue gun up when I'm doing it, and that way you've not stiffened the spine that you can't fold the book back. So I've just undone that and decided just to knot it for now, because I want to put the last rosette on. And unfortunately, it's now finishing this film. I will be back shortly with the next bit.